Good morning, Year 6. Remember, this week we are writing our retell of the animation, the short film, The Lighthouse. Today you are going to start to draft your retell of The Lighthouse. Just a reminder of what we did yesterday. First of all, we watched the animation. Remember, you can always go back on YouTube and watch this again, The Lighthouse. We then had a look at the waggle, so we chose some words and phrases from the waggle that we wanted to magpie. We also had a look at some features, so we spotted an expanded noun phrase, so that might be something you want to replicate in your writing this week. We spotted some really advanced openers. We also spotted some really high level vocabulary like tirelessly and solitary. We spotted some prepositions from far out of sea, and some phrases that we thought really showed great imagery to our readers, like eyes widening. Remember, there are also many more than this that you should have in your word bank that you have thought of yourself. We then had a look at a piece of work and we discussed the fact that up-levelling every word isn't always a good thing. In Year 6, we need to be showing that we can consciously choose which words we want to up-level and which ones we need to keep the same. So although it is nice to up-level words and have higher level phrases and use figurative language, we do not want that to be every single word or every sentence. The writing then becomes really difficult to read and it doesn't always have the effect we want. So we gave this pupil one bit of advice, and that bit of advice would probably be something like, don't up-level as many words. However, there were some really good pieces of vocabulary from this student's work, and there's definitely some phrases that you can magpie this week to up-level and improve your writing. We then made a word bank, and I showed you a few of mine, and we then stretched that word bank into sentences. Remember, this week, if you are aiming for platinum, we are looking for a real juxtaposition of light and dark. Remember, juxtaposition means when you put two ideas that are opposite next to each other. So my example was the juxtaposition of the moonlight orb against the inky sky. So a really light moon against a really dark sky. This animation is all about the contrast of light and dark, so make sure you portray that if you are aiming for platinum this week. Today we are going to draft, as I said, and first of all what I would like you to do is help me to summarise. So before I draft, I need to get a rough plan, and the way I'm going to do that is summarise what the key events are in the animation. So if you need to, go back and watch the video again. And I want you to try and summarise the key events in the animation in your head or in your book, ready to replay the video, pause it here, and then afterwards we will go through the key events in the animation. Okay, so hopefully you have got some of these key events written down or in your head. First of all, the first thing that happens is the lighthouse keeper is inside. Villagers seem to be celebrating. We're not sure what. Maybe it's a really good catch out at sea today, but we just know they're celebrating. So we need to tell our reader that they are celebrating, the lighthouse keeper is inside. We need to then describe the setting. But remember, our reader can't see the animation, so we need to be their eyes. We need to show them exactly what the setting looks like. The next thing that happens is the problem in the story. So the lighthouse keeper hears a noise, and when he goes to investigate, he notices that the light is broken. There is then an even bigger problem in our setting because they see the ship is approaching. So we need to make sure our reader knows that we're in real peril here, real danger. The ship is approaching and the light is broken. Two things that we really need, and from our work on lighthouses we know that the whole purpose of them is to make sure ships can see where the land is, where the rocks are, so that they're not in danger. And then finally we know that the villagers come to the rescue. So we need to describe them carrying lanterns up the hill. So those are your 5 key events in the animation. You need to make sure in your draft today you are using these key events. I would expect you by the end of year 6 now to be writing 1 paragraph for each of these key events. So you should have at least 5 paragraphs. However, if you are aiming for gold or platinum, you may write a little bit more, but please do remember that it's about quality, not just quantity. Make sure you are stretching everything. Those tiny details that we've spoken about in class are what makes amazing writing. So, for example, describing how the villagers are walking up the hill, describing their facial expressions, not just that they're walking up the hill with lanterns. So that is your task today. You need to draft from yesterday's magpie. I have given you a little example as my model, and I then want you to use that example to go off and start your draft today. So my example for today is: in the darkness of the sky, a column of white stood tall on the jagged rocks. Beneath, the small fishing village celebrated the day's catch. Through the inky black, squares of light revealed revellers. So as you can tell, my model is from the very first section here that we summarised, which is the lighthouse keeper is inside his lighthouse and the villagers are celebrating. Setting the scene is number 1, really. So that's my example. I would like you to use that example and start your draft today. Remember to send your work to your teachers.